I am Heather with Magnificent Mamas. We are joined here today with Lisa. Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Lisa Jacovsky. I'm a award-winning author, and I recently just published my latest and eighth book. Thank you so much for having me, Heather.
We are so excited to have you here today. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your books?
Absolutely. So I am the author of 3 different series. The first one is called Let's Talk. It's about autism and friendship. There are currently 4 books in that, and each one is about a different social issue and has a different activity as a way to show families some different resources they can use if their little one has that issue, and to show them that they can do it too when it comes to the activities. And my second one is the Cat Brothers series. It's my only nonfiction series about my 2 little kitties. And it's just a fun, silly book, has my actual pictures, and it's really cute. And the second book in that's coming out in the summer. I'm really excited for that. And I just dropped, I'm so excited because that's going to be even sillier. So it's going to be really fun because that's from the younger one's point of view. So it's going to be pretty hilarious.
That's awesome.
And then my third series, the first book in that just came out. It's called Happy Thoughts Going to the Aquarium. And it's actually a spinoff of Let's Talk. It has Emma, who happens to have autism, narrating. And if you know my books, you know that Emma cannot talk verbally. She talks through reading and writing. So it's very interesting and different to kind of see how she narrates that one too.
Sounds interesting. So where do you get your inspiration from?
I've been working in applied behavior analysis for almost 10 years.
Volunteered in I don't know if you guys have Head Start where you're at, but Head Start, and worked with a little girl with autism.
I love that. And that's what we need to put more out there because it is really positive. It is a good thing. And it's just a different way to learn.
And that's important because there's so many different ways to learn. And, you know, with the changes with people's knowledge with medicine and diagnosis, autism, you know, I'd kind of classify that as the same different ways to approach, which is an awesome thing. So you write children's books. What do you like to do in your free time?
I like to work out. I like to also hang out with my friends. They have kids, so I become the crafting aunt. I kind of
You don't have any children of your own?
Not yet. So that is gonna be in the future, in the next year and a half, 2 years. So you know, just kind of switching careers and where I am coming out of the field, and now I'm teaching as a professor. So now that that's all settled, that's the next step.
Nice.
So until then,
I've
I'm
got a
crafting aunt. Exactly,
Okay.
you know, and I have nieces and nephews to run around and hang with until then. So
That's great. What challenges did you face when you were writing your books, and how did you handle them?
with book 2, I kind of wrote it and then realized I wanted to put that issue into book 3 and kind of rewrote book 3 of Let's Talk. So I knew I wanted to do something with bullying, but it didn't come out the way I wanted to in book 2. So, you know, I kind of just rewrote things. I'm currently writing a book about dragons that one of my cousins requested. So a challenge with that has been doing research, you know. That's probably the biggest thing, is doing research. My 5th book that's coming out in Let's Talk in the fall has some individuals in it that are Muslim. So, you know, I had to do a lot of research with that too. So I think that's the biggest challenge is figuring out how to make sure I am doing things appropriately, but also in a positive way. I want to make sure I don't disrespect anybody and I do things the right way. So that's been mainly my biggest thing, is making sure I do the research and I put things in and I write it in the most appropriate way that I can, you know, because I'm a white Caucasian female. Exactly. So I want to represent things the right way. You know, I had the same thing with my book 4, celebrating the holidays, in the Let's Talk series with, you know, going and researching Diwali. So far that's been a really positive feedback. So I'm hoping that the research I'm doing with the rest of my books, that continues as well.
That's awesome. I do a lot of research for my writing too, and I have a part of one of my stories taking place in the Sahara Desert. So I've been, you know, doing a little research, and I've actually talked to some people from Algeria. You know, the Sahara Desert goes like across the whole northern part of Africa. Like, I was able to get insight on like the people a little bit, the government. So that was really cool.
That is really cool. That's so interesting too. Like, I love anything with culture like that. So I love the fact that we get pushed to go and find resources and talk to people. That's awesome.
It is exciting. What's your favorite part of the writing process?
Probably just sitting and letting everything flow out. I love actually just, I used to love physically writing, and now it's kind of transitioned into the computer, but just that whole letting it all pour out, it almost feels like it's like a creative purge, and it just feels so good to get all my ideas out. And then I read it afterwards and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. This is what I wanted. So I think the actual writing process is probably one of my favorite parts.
Are you more like there's different types of writers? So like I'm not an outline person. I'm like fly by the seat of my pants type of person.
Me too.
When it comes to I was just curious what kind of writer you were. A lot of people seem to, especially here lately, seem like an outline, and I'm like, how?
I agree. I see a lot of people, even on Facebook, say they outline before they do it, and I'm not like that. Like with my newest book that I'm writing, I'm not outlining it, but I've written notes of, because it's dragons and it has to do with, an island and then playing football. So there's just all these pieces. So sometimes like I'll write out those pieces and then connect them all together later. But
Have you ever had a character that, so like you start off planning a character to be a certain way, or say like in my instance, I had a villain, and then turns out that like as the writing process progresses, they might not even be the villain anymore.
that happened to me with book 3 in Let's Talk, because I originally wanted to do it where the teenager didn't really understand autism. That kind of comes off in the book, but then I realized, I wanted to do more the sensory issues. So I did the mask, and I didn't want to put too much into it. So we kind of touch on it a little bit. And I had like a whole other bowling coach in there who talked to him and all this stuff. And I completely changed, and he ended up being just like more open than I was going to have him be. So yeah, that definitely happens.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I feel like, we kind of just go with writing and then we tweak things. And sometimes that means we got to change things completely, but it ends up better in the end.
That's what I did with my character that was a villain, and through jumping around a little bit through my series, I was like, wait a sec, what if every bad thing she's doing ends up being for like the common good thing, but showing off as bad? Like, I don't know how to explain it right without giving it away, but who would you say your favorite authors are?
Oh, Anne Rice is definitely Anne Rice and Neil Gaiman.
Anne Rice is awesome. I read some of her stuff not too long ago, actually, like that I had read when I was younger, and her books are great. I love them.
Right? I'm rereading some of her books as well for the same reason, because I read them when I was younger, so I don't remember as much, and
Yeah.
it's so funny that everyone's like, you read that, but you write children's books?
Say you couldn't write children's books anymore, and you had to pick one genre that you haven't wrote, what would it be?
Oh, I definitely want to be something horror. Something like a horror mystery. That was always my favorite growing up reading, and some of my favorite shows. And it's interesting that I haven't had any kind of inspiration to write that yet, because even when I was younger, writing short stories, I would write like witches and mysteries and vampires and ghosts. And it's so strange, but now I don't have any kind of like inspiration.
I just read a horror book the other day for an author, and I haven't read horror in a while. I mean, like something new that I hadn't read before. I was like, man, I need some horror in my stories.
You read something good and it's like, wow, I want to do that.
If you were giving advice about writing to children, what kind of advice would you give them?
Because they're children, and I know how they get frustrated, they can't get it out. Be patient, take your time, and don't give up. Biggest thing is don't give up, because not that necessarily I was told don't become a writer. Like my family was always supportive. It wasn't necessarily my family. It was more like outside people, like in school or, on TV or something. Everyone would always be like, oh, there's no money in writing. There's no journalism. It's super hard to get into. My best advice is always to just be patient, keep going, and never give up. Just don't let those people in your ears.
And that's good advice for just life in general.
It's a lot of what I live by, and I tell my students too, because it's hard to break into your field, make your dreams come true. And, for me, everything happened later than all my friends from high school, but now being in such a good place in my career, it's worth it. And I realize that, everything happens for a reason. It's something that I really live by too.
So you mentioned you won awards. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm pretty much in tears like anytime I win an award. So the first award I ever won was Literary Titan, and I literally got the email and I was like, "You won gold!" And I was in the middle of doing a telehealth session. I almost jumped out of my chair. I was like, "Oh my God," And so now I did research and I found reputable, respectable awards. So I put my books in, and it's amazing to get recognized like that because I have no formal writing background. So to be recognized by people who have been in the literary world and have big names and have formal training is incredibly special, And now I'm actually friends with Be Patient, a woman who runs one of the awards, the Firebird Award, Pat Rulo. And she's amazing. It's a nonprofit award and it actually gives back. And that's part of why I love doing it too. And it's it is, I always donate my book and then she donates that in a pillow that she hand makes to a women's and children's shelter, And the new thing they're doing with that is with children's books is that children are some of the judges now. So now it's not just adults. Yeah. So it's really nice to be recognized not just by these adults who have all this experience and training, but also by children, because that's my audience. So for them to be like, "Hey, I like your book. It's amazing." It really it means the world to me. I literally cry every single time I get one. I never expected to win awards, and they've all won almost all the same awards. Some of them haven't been posted yet. They come out in the next few months, but whether I win or not, it's the fact that I keep trying. I never expect to win, and if I do, it's like, wow, how did that even happen? Like, it's really shocking to me as well as me appreciating it.
If you could co-write a book with any author, living or dead, who would it be and why?
It would probably have to be Anne Rice. I absolutely love Neil Gaiman, but I feel like Anne Rice, I would connect with her more on the kind of like the supernatural level, So I feel like that would be really, really incredible. Oh, I'm so upset when she passed away. She started, the werewolf series back in 2012, which is incredible. And I'm just like, there's no more of that series. That's so sad. So I think because of that, I think I would connect and want to write with her the most. Absolutely. That would be a dream. My gosh.
It'd be interesting for sure. Sometimes I think like, say you're writing like a fantasy story, but then say you could choose co-author with somebody else. Like I would choose like Stephen King.
I was thinking about him too. His latest book was incredible.
It's so awesome to have these inspiring authors that have done so well that we can look up to and learn from and just, experience their work too as well. And I think, the literary community, with technology's advancements and everything, being able to have the audiobooks, the ebooks, as well as paperback and hardcover, I think it gets it out there so much more. I prefer like a paperback myself, I love that technology has advanced. So my daughter, she's ADHD and dyslexic. And so reading is definitely a weakness, but she loves audiobooks. Like she's always listening to audiobooks. And I think it's awesome that technology has evolved so much to where books are out there on so many different levels that where people can listen to them or, read them on their phone. I think that's just really awesome. And I think authors from hundreds of years ago would be shocked at how far it's come.
I agree completely because it helps with all those different learning styles. It gives us really great in different ways to market. As my books online, the ebook does amazing and the paperbacks do amazing in person. So it kind of hits all those different learning styles depending on like what works for you, which I think is incredible too.
What's the weirdest or most unexpected place you found inspiration for a story?
I think at work, I think while I was teaching. I
awesome.
definitely, I talk about my books with my students, but I teach a couple classes, child psychology, abnormal psych, where we're talking about, developmental disabilities. We're talking about mental health, and I'll just randomly get inspired. I'm like, oh, wait, that would go with that book I haven't finished.
Do your students like your books? Have they read them? Or have
They
you read that?
do. They're really cute. When my eighth book came out, I couldn't wait to go and tell them. And they're so funny. Some of them will download an ebook, some will buy it and then show me. They're really, really sweet about it. Yeah.
You're already, as a teacher, doing so much, education and students and whatnot. And to be able to share literacy with them as well is just amazing.
Exactly. And a lot of them have younger siblings. So they're like, oh my gosh, I got it for this, my brother or my sister, and they love it. And I'm like, you guys are awesome. Like, you didn't have to buy it, but so incredibly sweet. And it really means a lot. I've been very, very lucky with the students I've gotten.
Well, that's awesome. And it sounds like we're all very lucky to have you as an author that, stuff like that needs to be shared about more. And you sharing your books will help others share and can think about writing similar situations.
I agree. And that's, my hope too. I've met authors that have autism. I've met children authors, and I hope they're inspiring to other people to talk about their stories, to do what makes them happy and live their dream, whether they have autism, ADHD, whether they have schizophrenia, or, I have a lot of students with bipolar, no matter what's going on. And I hope it just inspires them to follow their dreams no matter what.
With that being said, I am going to have to wrap, and we are so blessed to have you on our show today.
Thank you so, so much, Heather. This was so much fun. I loved your questions.
Thank you so much.